Welcome back to Tottenham On Tour's world famous advent calendar, day number 17, Sedici. And it's another one of those really funny days, but there's a mixture of decent characters in there. Joining Brian and myself, we have Mia from Spurs Between the Lines, and we've got Mr. David from Tottenham All, who has got a little surprise, which is why his camera is currently off. None of us know what is about to happen, so this is going to be a really funny one. But first, Aki, what's happening?
All good, brother. All good. Day 17. There's some players there's a couple in there that mean a lot to me. There's one that means a hell of a lot to me. And there are a couple of strange ones, but very excited. And it's great to have Mia and Dave finally on the Advent calendar.
Yeah, it's always good to have new people on the Advent calendar making their Advent debuts, as it were. But Mia, how you doing, miss? How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, and I'm sure there's only one player you can say that I'll be talking about much more than the others, for sure.
Probably. And Mr. David.
Here we go.
Are you ready?
How are you doing?
Hope it's not anticlimax now. Do you know what I mean? Hello.
Oh my God.
There you go. All Christmassy for the Advent calendar.
We haven't got a fancy dress prize, but it's one. It's one.
Yeah. I don't think we've got a who's got the best outfit today. Who's got the best outfit today? But it's that time of the show. Advent calendar means Christmas cracker jokes, and we're going to start with Mia because ladies first. We're old-fashioned here. What is your Christmas cracker joke, Mia?
What do you call two robbers?
Two robbers. No idea.
A pair of knickers.
Jesus. Why am I saying Jesus? See, I'm keeping it festive.
Keeping it festive. Mr. David.
It's David's influence. David, what's your Christmas cracker joke?
Who hides in a bakery at Christmas? A mince spy.
Oh, there you go.
We've already had that one.
Had that one actually.
I can do another one.
Yeah, get another one.
Have you got one, or are you going to need to find one?
No, I got one.
Fire away.
Yeah, you've got one.
What do you get if you eat Christmas tinsel decorations?
Tinselitis.
Yeah, have you had that one as well?
Yeah,
let's see. That's
the problem with day 17. There is only so many.
They're all gone. I got one more. I can risk
one more.
Yeah. What does Miley Cyrus have for Christmas?
Quirky.
Oh.
Okay, so like I said, mine is more of a punny kind of one, and I use that word coined by Mia before she trademarks it. I got a Christmas card today, and when I opened it, it was just full of rice. My wife asked me who's it from. I said it must be from Uncle Ben.
Can't say that anymore. It's now Ben's original.
Well,
that's an old school one.
I'm old school, so there you go. Yeah. I'm staying it old school. Ben, complete the set.
Finally, what did one snowman say to the other snowman?
Can you smell carrots?
Yeah. Let's find another one. That's fine.
You should know what jokes have been said. I said that one.
I've forgotten, mate. My mind is terrible. Why did no one bid for Rudolph and Blitzen on eBay?
We've had that one. It was too dear.
Oh, for God's sake.
Are we going to have... Go on,
Why is it harder to buy Advent calendars?
Okay, that we haven't had. I don't know.
Because their days are numbered.
Keeping in with the show.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a plethora of jokes and puns this time. Yeah. Everyone take their pick, but do you know what? We're going to get into this. Day 17 now. Day 17 is a big number with some big memories attached to this. Some good, some bad. Who would have thought? Obviously, people know. I fell in love with a woman from Canada. I married a woman from Canada. I now live in Canada. But who would have thought that isn't my first love? My first love from Canada can only be one man. Paul Stalteri, an icon, a legend. Ben, take it away.
Can't really remember much of Paul Stalteri. All that I remember is my brother used to call him the Tank Commander because he was someone that he looked like he's the Højbjerg of then, but he had a heart like a lion. He ran his socks off. But the main memory I can remember was going up the other end against West Ham and him scoring that 4-3 to win us that football match. What a goal that was. Utter limbs in that away end. Utter limbs. What a game of football that was. One of the games that's actually etched in my memory, but the Berbatov free kick. It was so many good goals in that game. Yeah, but Paul Stalteri is the only person on this list that has a trophy. And who would have thought? Paul Stalteri. What a guy. And like we've said the entire way through this calendar, anyone that's got a trophy on this list, we can somewhat respect. But he was a great player. Not the greatest in terms of skill, but he did his effort and he won a trophy. What do you remember of Paul Stalteri, Mia?
A bit like you, not really that much because he wasn't obviously a prolific kind of player of sorts. So it's probably, the like you said, the West Ham game. There's not really that many many things that I can think of that I can remember, to be fairly honest with you. And won trophy. That's obviously a big thing. He didn't play that many games when you think about it. So and he obviously got a bit kind of outed when Chambonda come along. He wasn't really, like I say, not one that you can stick in your memory as, you remember like that player, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And David, what do you remember of Paul Stalteri? What do you remember of him?
Yeah, just like you, he's one of them players that, obviously if you didn't have a connection to him like Brian does, you don't really remember much of him. I mean, the only reason I remember, obviously, the only 2 goals I remember, I know he scored against Leicester, I think it was in the FA Cup, but the 2 goals I remember was against Man City in the West Ham goal. Do you know what I mean? But the only reason I remember the City one is because my dad's a City fan. So that's the only reason I remember him. Other than that, I wouldn't have ever remembered him. So, he's one of them type of players, that came, went, and that's it.
Yeah. And Brian, what do you remember of Paul Stalteri?
Do you know what? Obviously, I have a very big connection to him now for obvious reasons where I live. He's actually an honorary member, fully paid up, of Toronto Spurs. Yeah. He's actually going to be coming to a game this season. We're in talks with him. Listen, he's honorary president of Toronto Spurs, along with a certain person who has been to the Scotland Yard, the ex-Hall of Famer, basketball NBA star and mad Spurs fan Steve Nash. Yeah, who has been and spent time with us, and Stalteri is due to come when he's available. Listen, everyone remembers that West Ham game. Everyone remembers that goal. You mentioned another goal, David. I actually remember his other goal because I was very, very drunk in the underground in LA. He scored a banger of a shot against Leicester in the FA Cup, and I woke up the morning with no voice. Yeah. I can't remember if the game went to a replay and we lost, or we lost that game 2-1 in the last minute. Yeah. But obviously, I have a huge connection with him. He's actually working here in Toronto right now for the Toronto Premier League, which there's nothing Premier about it. I'll tell you that. I can tell you that for sure. But listen, he's going to go down. Will he go down in folklore because of being part of a trophy-winning team? No. Will he go down in folklore for a certain goal against West Ham? Yes, absolutely. And I can tell you a story. I know a lot of Jewish people that went to that game, and it was the end of a Jewish festival, Purim, which is basically the St. Patrick's Day of the Jewish calendar. It's the day you get pissed. I've been told a lot of funny stories from that day, and every single time it starts with "and then Paul Stalteri scored," and the bender became a little bit longer than the day. Yeah. But that's Paul Stalteri. Now, moving on to a player who we only had for a brief time, and we had to put him in here because we talk about players that I wish had played for Spurs for longer. This man is
I think you got it the wrong way around.
Most certainly one of them. I loved this dude, Ben.
He was a player when he came to the club. Was an old head in a team that needed experience. Again, only played 11 games. That's not a lot of games at all. But what he did bring to the game was a bit of class. Every time he played, you could see, I wish I had him 10 years ago. It's like one of those moments, the experience, the skill, the class. Obviously, his best years were in a Chelsea shirt and also playing for Barcelona as well. He was an awesome character to have around a Harry Redknapp team that were just about to get into the Champions League. He was the part of that team that did get to the Champions League. He never got to play in that season because he then went back to Monaco and then went further afield. He went to Stoke City, I believe, after that, from what I can remember. But he was a great player in his day. He's never going to be a Tottenham legend, but what a class player he was. What a glittering career he had, trophies he won. He was just a brilliant player. Mia, what do you remember of Idager Johnson?
Again, he's one of those players that he didn't play that many games. So he did bring, like you say, that element of being an older head and experience. He played for Chelsea, didn't he, previously? But he didn't really have, again, he scored 1 goal, didn't he, I think? Yeah, so, it's not exactly a player that, again, sticks in your mind a lot for too many outstanding things apart from bringing that bit of class, like you say, and a bit more of an older head to the team. So probably not a lot, unfortunately. I'm going to be honest.
David.
Yeah. Mr. David, what do you remember of Idager Johnson?
It's kind of a bit of a weird one, but I remember I believe it was West Ham. They went for him as well. He had a medical at West Ham, and he was actually, we both offered him the exact same contracts, and he chose Spurs over us. So that was always good. Before he was signed for us, we got one over on them lot. Other than that, he was one of them players, like you said, Ben, is you wish you had him earlier because he had that sort of bit of swaz about himself. Do you know what I mean? He didn't look like a technically gifted player, but with the ball at his feet, he just had a way with it. Do you know what I mean? And we just got him at a later time, but regards to Spurs legend, obviously no, but I think he was a great player, and you know what I mean. I wish, like I said, we got him earlier and we had him for a lot longer because he just had that thing about him. One of them players that just shines on a pitch, even though they don't look like they should, type of thing.
Yeah, let's just say a guy that plays for Bolton, then Chelsea, and also plays for Barcelona. This guy had something about him, and do you know what this is? And I'm sure everyone in the chat may say the same as this. For the life of me, I can't remember the goal that he scored. Cannot remember it for the life of me. But what I do remember is in that year we got Champions League for the first time. We were away at Stoke, and it was a must-win game. We are 2-1. We're 1-1-1, and right at the death, a ball comes in out wide, and there is a dummy from Idager Johnson that lays it onto Nico Cranchar, who smashes in the winner. And his footballing brain, he's not Teddy Sheringham level, but his footballing brain was incredible. He had a wonderful partnership with Hasselbank, another player I wish we had at one time at Spurs. But I love this man. I wish he had stayed for longer. And next person, now we're getting quite modern. Got a few stories about this man. Andros Townsend, still playing to this day. Ben, take it away with Andros.
Apart from maybe Dejan Kulusevski, this is the most actually, no, I put him above Dejan Kulusevski in this one. The most frustrating Tottenham player I have ever seen. Because we all talk about Dejan Kulusevski and his one trick of getting the ball on the right-hand side and then trying to pass it inwards. This guy only did that. That was his entire game. He didn't track back. All he did was get the ball and then blast it over the bar. Cut in on his left foot. I really liked him as a Spurs player, but that's why I wanted him to do well, and that's why it frustrated me. But if I was older, because he came to Spurs when I was a lot younger, if we had had drinking games, Andros Townsend would have been my drinking game of how many times a game he would have got the ball on the right-hand side, cut in on his left foot and smash it over the bar like he was playing rugby. Every single time, I was like, it's a shame. It's such a shame that he had a falling out with Pochettino because he could have developed more as a player, but it was never going to work for him, especially with him not upgrading his game to more than cutting in on his left foot and smashing it over the bar. What do you remember of Andros, Mia?
Yeah, he wasn't that great. He didn't have that much of an influence on us, really. Let's be honest. And it's sad because he was a graduate of the academy, right? So I think that you always have that little bit more of a thing when you see a player come from our academy, you want them to do well. But unfortunately, he just wasn't it, and he just kept going out on loans constantly. Like I know that we had, say, when Kane, when he was younger, to get a bit more experience, he went out on some loans. But Townsend was just like the one to just chuck out on loan, right? He just was chucked out every opportunity, just like out you go, mate, off you go. So I remember him just being loaned a lot. Like he didn't really play that often for us, and when he didn't really do a lot. It wasn't like somebody who, like I say, who had that influence on the team, who played on that wing where like when we had Gareth Bale, he got you up off your seat. Townsend was just not that, was he? Just wasn't it, unfortunately. And like I say, you want him to come good because he's an academy player, but he just never was, really.
David, what do you remember of Andros Townsend?
Yeah, I agree with Mia. I mean, he was the type of player that, you wished he come good because of where he came from and that. But he was one of them youth players that we should have got rid of, a lot sooner than we bloody did. Don't get me wrong, sometimes he'd, like, in the odd game, he was very hit and miss, but there's certain games where he'll do a play or they'll run down the wing and stuff like that, but his end product was dreadful. He always, like you said, he always wanted to cut in and try and get that goal in the top left corner, and it never worked. And he just never developed his game. He never progressed himself. And overall, don't get me wrong, I wished he did well, but he just never a standout player, was he? He just, he's just one of them. I mean, you look at Kulu now, if you put them two together, like side by side, watching them, Kulu is just unreal, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Compared to Townsend, like Townsend's got the pace, but he's got no end product
at all, or a right foot.
No, exactly, yeah.
Even now, he still hasn't got a right foot.
No. But it was one of them that, you know what I mean? You thought he was going to get you off your seat. He'll get the ball and they'll start making a run. You think, oh, and then it's just dies before the halfway line type of thing.
If he was a rugby player, he would be amazing because he was always all over the bar.
Well, you look at it. First of all, I think the biggest problem for Andros was we live in a world where straight away people say, oh, he's the next this, he's the next that. He came in straight after Gareth Bale, one of the biggest shoes you're ever going to have to fill in Tottenham's recent history, if not the biggest, next to Kane, obviously, and then say, off you go, do this. And let's face it, he started off and he was tearing up, even for England.
Yeah.
But then we say, oh, he's the next this way too often.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing to have around your head. Oh, you're the next Gareth Bale. But then, there's three things I remember with him. First of all, is initiation in the youth club, singing Stand By Me when they showed it on Sky Sports. That shows it. One of the things I will say to him in a very positive light is when my sister was about to give birth to the twins, my first nephews, I was brand new to Twitter then. That was before YouTube and everything we do. And I put a massive tweet out and probably tagged every single Spurs player that had it at the time and said, hi, Spurs players. My sister is about to give birth to two new nephews. I'm going to be an uncle for the first time. Two new yids entering the world can't be a bad thing. Can I get a retweet or whatever you say? Andros Townsend not only retweeted it, put a lovely message on there. Was one of the first, if not the first. So I'll always thank him for that. But you mentioned drinking games, Ben. I have told my Ian Walker story with rubbing the hair.
Yeah,
I got to see Andros Townsend a lot, and I went with a group of friends at the time when you could get tickets. we all sat in different areas, but we used to talk about, like the Walker one, count how many times we put money in a pot.
Yeah.
We used to do that with Andros Townsend, doing exactly what you said, cutting in, shooting and over. Only counted if it went over or wide. If it was on target, didn't count. And no matter where we sat, people heard us having this bet. And they're like, oh, can I get in on this? And we had more people playing than the Walker game. That you got to remember again, the football wasn't brilliant at that time. We had the Fantastic Seven that was the Fantastic Two, you could probably say at best. So yeah, having fun watching Andros Townsend. Everyone was like, and all around us was like, "Come on, please come over, please go over, please go over." That's how bad it got with him. But yeah, listen, it weren't going to work out for him. Went on and has done well for himself. But then we'll get on to another player, the fourth. The fifth is the one that I know is going to be spoken about the most.
Yeah.
Especially by a certain someone below me. But we move on to someone who really splits opinions.
Oh boy.
We're going to have to talk. I mean, I said good memories.
Before you go. Who needs bail when you got Sissoko?
I mean, that song alone was fantastic. But the comparison is just, oh my God. Ben, take it away with Sissoko.
I think this guy might be one of the most Marmite players in the whole Tottenham Hotspur fan base. He was never a great player for Tottenham. He was never a great player. He never set the world alight. But in that season where we got to the Champions League final, he was almost the best player on the pitch every single game. And people will talk about the Harry Kanes, the Salmis, the Delis. This guy was the engine. Him and Wanyama in midfield were an absolutely beastly partnership. They ran and ran and ran. And that was what ended it for him. Wanyama lost his legs. Dembele lost his legs.
Yep.
And he had to take up the mantle. I remember specifically at Real Madrid away, because I was at that game. He was brilliant. Him and Winks in midfield against Real Madrid, the champions of Europe. They bossed it. They bossed Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. And the only reason we didn't come away from that game with 3 points because Toni Kroos dived. And it absolutely infuriated me. So Toni Kroos, if you're watching this, you're probably not. I'd still want you to come to Tottenham, but you're a cheat. But Sissoko, he had some very, very funny moments. He was not a good football player. He was not technically gifted. He was a man that could run all game for you. He had all the strength, all the speed, no footballing ability. But the one goal I remember was that goal he scored against Burnley. It was above his head. It was absolutely the most untypical Moussa Sissoko goal you could ever score. What a banger of a goal that was from him. I actually respect Moussa a lot because he gave his all. He was, again, it's another one for this list. He had to replace Moussa Dembele, one of the greatest footballers you've ever seen. And he tried his best. He didn't succeed, but we still love him for it. Most Marmite player in a Spurs shirt, in my opinion. What do you remember about Moussa Sissoko, Mia?
So, Joe, the two things I remember about Sissoko is that when he got his injury, I've never known a player to come back so quickly. I think he had is it ACL he had? I'm sure it was an ACL.
ACL.
Yeah, it was an ACL, but he came back quick. Whoever does that? Like, I've never known a player to come back from an ACL like he did. His strength was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And obviously he was that engine. And in that game against Ajax, he was pivotal to that goal. And I think that people miss kind of, like, I know that off by heart, that bit of commentary, because I've watched it so many times. And Sissoko's part in that was really important. And people miss that a lot. And he is a very Marmite player, but I actually like him as in he's got that something about him that you just couldn't help but like. The other thing I remember of him walking around into the changing room in his sliders and them all singing, "Oh, Moussa says so."
Oh, yeah.
Legendary. That's legendary. And he just stood there, didn't know what to do. That was
most importantly, Mia, was when he won the Uno tournament and he was walking around with a crown and a WWE around his waist. Yeah, he was a joker. I mean,
he was a character.
In the what's it called, the All or Nothing documentary, Mourinho and what was it? The assistant were talking about him, And he was like, Mourinho was trying to see who the leaders in the dressing room was.
Yeah.
And the assistant said, Sissoko. And Mourinho was like, you kidding? Like he was a proper guy in that dressing room. He was a guy that everyone liked. But
no, that's right. I think it speaks volumes though that he's remembered more for his character than his footballing ability.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, let's
The
be
shame
honest.
but he's remembered more for a handball than any of it.
Okay.
A non-handball,
a non-handball, which wasn't,
Liverpool.
We just bypass that one.
Damn right. Yes, damn right. Absolutely robbed. And David, what do you remember about Moussa Sissoko?
Yeah, well, my memory doesn't have to actually have anything to do with the football or anything, but I just want to say, with Sissoko, like everyone said, you remember the person rather than the football. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was a workhorse or anything, but his feet didn't like going near that ball. Because as soon as it did, he had like spaghetti legs. Do you know what I mean? It just never worked for him. But I loved Sissoko to the point that I even this is my little story. I actually messaged him on Instagram, wishing him and his family a Merry Christmas. And he actually replied with a couple of gifs, little emojis like. So, you know what I mean? That's my thingy there, like, is that as a person, Sissoko was wonderful. As a footballer, not so much.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. But I love Sissoko. I mean, like the Ajax game, like Mia said, you know what I mean? He played vital roles in that. And, you know, he was an engine. He was an engine in that midfield. I mean, goals and assists are always great and stuff like that. But, you know, sometimes you do need that workhorse. And that workhorse can help a team in many ways that you don't see. It's the dirty work. It's that tiring work that allows other players to, you know what I mean, do what they want to do in a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the non-handball, the robbery of our Champions League final is, never down to Sissoko.
Still expecting the replay, Liverpool.
Yes.
I'm there.
Well, it's like Jan Vertonghen said he's up for it. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yes, Jan, love it.
Well, of course, any chance we get Super Jan spoken about, definitely. Well said, Super Jan. Love you. But what I've got to say about Sissoko, I can actually bring Daniel Levy into this. Funnily enough, I mean, first of all, I will say, people got to remember when we went to sign him, he'd just come back off an exceptional Euros.
Yeah.
And in that final against Portugal, on the right wing, he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Didn't get the result, but he was absolutely incredible. And then I remember transfer deadline day, and funnily enough, we're looking for deals on deadline day. And I remember this because I watched it religiously at home. We put the bid in on deadline day. He was actually away with France. And it was like Spurs had been given permission to speak to him. And then Sissoko was at the airport and he was allowed to leave the training camp. And he was actually called back because Newcastle worked out that the bid that we put in, they wanted 30 and Daniel Levy had offered 16 million. And Newcastle were like, you're not getting on that plane. You are not getting on that plane. And then and then he came. Listen, that player, like we all said, he had such a big heart. And he had about a 6-month period where he was vital and he was pivotal. But obviously, once again, we went through such a cycle of managers that wanted different football and asked different things. Listen, we go into a job and we get confused and annoyed when a manager comes in or you get a new ownership or leadership and you're asked from doing something that you're doing there to completely change everything on the training pitch, your diet, that. It's going to confuse and get to anyone. People just think because you're a professional footballer, you can play. There you go. That's your job. All you do is kick a ball. And it gets wildly overlooked. Listen, he was not good enough for what we needed. If we had the right manager and the right manager had been given the right amount of time, he used to turn it on at Newcastle. He could turn it on at France and he could turn it on at Spurs. But every time we did, an injury came or a manager changed. But the one thing I do have a little connection with him is I moved here December the 1st, 2017 to this great city and great country of Toronto, Canada. The last ever live goal I saw was Moussa Sissoko to put us 2-0 up against West Ham at Wembley in the Carabao Cup. We went on to lose it 3-2, so I'm not going to talk about the last Tottenham Hotspur goal I ever saw scored as a UK resident was by Moussa Sissoko. So and it was a good goal. So I've always got that connection with him. So I've got Stalteri, the Canadian, and I now live here. Sissoko, the last goal scorer. And now we move on to the last one. And I'm waiting to see Mia smile. There it is. There it is.
Talk about Romero. Get a picture of him on, and I'll be even more happy.
So we're going to come on to our current 17. He's had a couple of numbers, but he's now at his favourite number. And I had to pick this picture. I had to pick a picture of me on the floor. Look, that does look like me. If you take the hair out, that is me. That is so me. We're going to talk about Cuti Romero. Ben.
We're still in the early stages of Spurs' career. I mean, which is really weird because he's played 60 games and a lot of everyone else on this list has only got that 50. He has every bit of ability to be one of the best 5 centre backs on this planet Earth, but he has got a small issue of he is a bit of a lunatic, and I love him because he is a lunatic. Because when I used to play football, I was a total lunatic, especially when I played centre midfield. I used to clout people. I used to 2-foot tackle people, just like Cuti does. But he's got all the skill to pay that back. He could be this generation's Sergio Ramos of just being an amazing footballer, but he just likes to get sent off once in a while. The way he brings the ball out, the way his passing accuracy, he's just absolutely sensational. There's a reason why Argentina picks him every single game. It's why Messi says he's the best centre-back on the planet, even though I don't think he's the best centre-back on the planet as of this moment in time. He's a colossus when he wants to be. Like some of the defending he did last year in that awful team, where the team would just be like totally out of sorts and he would just come out of nowhere across the entire pitch and
Ben, can I just ask you something? Did you say a colossus or a lobus?
Colossus.
Okay. Two very.
He is a colossal lobus, but in different ways. But he when he has a good centre back partner, he's absolutely awesome. He's going to be an amazing footballer, but it just needs to calm it down slightly. He needs to calm it down slightly. And when we see Jacob on the United Spurs of America posting all those wonderful pictures of him and his lovely mum, you're just like saying, that's my guy. I really like this guy. Just don't kick everyone all the time, mate. Go on, Mia. Talk about Romero.
Well, I don't know if you guys know why he's actually called Cutie. It's because his sister couldn't say Christian when she was little, so she called him Cutie. So that's why he's actually kept the name. Now, does that not tell you anything about the guy? Obviously, what a sweet guy to keep the name of it, like what his sister gave him when she was little. Footballing wise, his ability, fantastic. Like you said, bringing out the ball, passing the ball. He's got control of the ball. He's got good vision as well. A couple of times he's done some absolutely brilliant crosses. And he's even scored an absolute banger of a goal as well. He scored 4, but a couple of them have been absolute brilliant goals as well, not just with his head, as you maybe typically think a defender would. He's actually very good with his feet too. Since we haven't had Toby and Jan, we've really missed having a really good centre-back pairing. Really, really missed that. And that's been, I think, a massive part of where we've gone wrong. Now we have got him with Van der Ven. I believe these two can build a really, really good partnership. Like you say, it is early days, but I do think they're very, very good together. I do think that Van der Ven is a bit more of the calming one, and it's like the water and fire thing. So obviously you've got the cool Van der Ven, and then you've got the fiery Romero, and I think they complement each other. Yes, he does need to sometimes think about things a bit more, not let the blood rush to his head, and I do get that. But I think without that, he just wouldn't be him, because some of those that he does time, because the first 10 games this season, he was so brilliant. And a couple of times he's just lost his head a little bit. And he does need to take a step back and maybe not do that. But like I say, without that fiery side of him, what would you have? You'd have just timid centre back. Like, would you really want that? And I don't think you do. Like, I think you want to have that passion, that fieriness, and I think we would lose something in him if we actually lost that, if that makes sense. And my son, he's the same. He plays centre back, right-footed when he plays football at school, and he's the same madman as what Romero is. So when I play football against him, I'm scared because he's going to two-foot tackle me. So I kind of get that madman kind of element to it.
Why do I think of Mia watching football with her son and just pointing at the screen? That's my man, and then he's just like, "Oh, I've got to be like him now."
No, I tell you what, my Alex is just naturally a madman when it comes to football. When he was in primary school, he two-footed one of his teachers in front of me, and I was like, "Alex, you can't be doing that. It's your teacher, man. You can't be doing that." But he's like,
I have to say, Mia, I think my mum would say the same terminology for me, even to today. I think you would. David, let's see what you've got to say about Cutie.
For me, he needs to go more aggressive. I love him. I want him. No, he's a proper old school centre back, isn't he? You know what I mean? You know, you look at centre backs nowadays, they look like a modern centre back. When you look at Cutie, he looks like an old school. He's gonna take your kneecaps off. You come near me with that ball, I'm taking your kneecaps off type of player. But he does it with such finesse at times. You know what I mean? Like me was saying, the partnership with Van der Ven, he went how many games without even committing a foul?
Yeah.
You know, so when you look at it and he's on it, he is just wonderful. I love QT. The red cards, anything like that, don't care about. Doesn't bother me whatsoever because he's the type of player that you will get that from now and then, but you want that. You want a defender who's going to put fear into an attacker's eyes. You know what I mean? That attacker's looking at him thinking, if I go near him, I could be out for weeks. You know what I mean? And, you know, I can't speak highly enough of QT. You know, for me, he's been the best centre-back since, you know what I mean, like Mia said, the Alderweireld, you know what I mean, time and stuff. And, yeah, his ability on the ball, his passing, it's just his whole game, his entire game just has everything to it. You know what I mean? You've got his calm collectedness. You've got his aggressive. You've got the football brain. You know what I mean? I mean, you watch against the Newcastle game, the passes he was doing between the lines in that midfield. We haven't seen that in years. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That just to break that line there and stuff. And yeah, I want to see him to be a bit more. I'd say when I say a bit more aggressive, I mean like controlled aggression. Do you know what I mean? Like just a little extra.
You want him to.
I want him to go and see players.
Well, you know what? When you look at I know everyone criticised because he did get sent off for that game against Man City, but Haaland was afraid, and not often do you see that big robot afraid of anybody, but he was afraid of him. That first tackle that he did, that he knocked him clean out. I was just like, go on, boy. I kind of like.
But that's what you need. See, that's the thing.
I celebrated it like a goal. My dad was sitting next to me thinking, what are you doing? Did you not just see that? He ran 60 yards across the pitch and smashed him.
Yeah, but that's what you need. That's the thing you need in a player like that. As a defender, for me, you need that. But what you also need is a competent backup sitting there ready, because at one point in the season, he's getting that red card, or you know what I mean? So you need a competent backup to match that, who's a bit more calm and just can play them few games until he's back to do all that nuttery again. Do you know what I mean? But I love Beauty. I think he's wonderful. And yeah, I'm so glad he's a Tottenham player.
I have to say, when we signed him or were interested in him, so many people were waxing lyrical about him. So many people like, yes, oh my God. I hadn't a clue who he was. I used to watch so much football now, but I tend to stick to Premier League now because the time difference and it interferes with time I could be spending with my wife. So I keep it Tottenham, I keep it Premier League, I watch it when I can. But I didn't know what the big fuss was about. My God, did you see it? I mean, I'll talk what you talk about the celebration, that tackle like a goal. Do people remember in his first season when Son scored that incredible goal against Leicester and Højbjerg goes like that? It comes from that double tackle that Romero makes. He goes bang and then bang, straight like that. That for me was like a god. He is an absolute he's a bull in a china shop, but can be so elegant. I mean, he is incredible. And you look at it, I always look at it as the best defensive partnerships in the Premier League have a yin and a yang, a brute and an elegant. You look at Vidic and Ferdinand. You look at King
Kai and Blanchflower.
You look at Vidic. I said Vidic. You look at when they had Hippie.
Terry and Carvalho.
Terry and Carvalho. They all have that yin and that yang, and we've been looking for the partner. And with Van der Ven, it's like two defenders were separated at birth, and they were given that half and half heart, and they've been reunited. It's a dream partnership. I was at the game. Mia said about the banger of the goal. I was at Burnley.
Yeah,
that was a banger of a goal. And you know what? One of the things when you mentioned goals with Kuti, you don't want to be anywhere near him when he celebrates a goal. I've never seen a guy that literally assaults his own players.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you look at any goal, there is, you know who it is. It's like people, Lineker used to say Gaza jumping on your back at the time was like, you know, when it's Gaza. You could tell if you had 1 million people, it's like a goal's been scored. Can you pick Romero out? It'd be like, yep. I just got to check for third, like a cracked rib or concussion because, listen, he is. I'm with David as well. The red cards, the sending offs, it's part and parcel of his goal. Listen, I think he's going to stay for years. We've got to keep him for years. He's integral to everything he does, and it is great to say, like you said, Ben, I reckon when we talk back in the day and when people are looking back in our history, like that when they're our age, like the kids, like your kids now, Mia, when they get to our age now and the age you are, Cuti Romero will be discussed in that top tier bracket of best defenders that have ever worn the Tottenham Hotspur jersey. And what better way to round it off?
Yeah. And more goals than Jesus this year. More goals than Jesus. Merry Christmas.
Look at that. But listen, it's been great having 2 new people in the Advent calendar. Yeah. And again, as always, ladies first. So David, Mia, where can people find you?
I think just called David a woman there, but okay.
I know, yeah.
It was the jingle bells.
Yeah, you can find me over at Spurs Between the Lines, where I give plenty of daily content for you all to watch and give my opinions on all things at Tottenham.
It's a great channel. I can't urge people enough to go watch Mia. She's got great football knowledge. She's got great sense of humour. And she's putting out great content. So everyone, please go give Mia a watch. And David, where can people find you?
Well, I'm pretty much becoming a regular on Tottenham on tour now, so you'll probably see me here a lot. Don't worry, I won't always come with the Christmassy look.
I
think you have to now.
I have to keep them, on the next calendar.
Take it out. If Em's put that on for you, A+ for the makeup woman.
Oh, she did. She actually put them on for me. Yeah, she had to.
There you go. Well done, Ems. Well done, Ems. But carry on, David.
Yeah, but you can find me also on Twitter. I'm Rodrigo Roadman. I do really bad takes in the game. When I see bad things happen, I say bad things are happening, and I get a lot of slack for it. You know what I mean? But overall, I just find me over on Twitter, Rodrigo Roadman, or on here with these.
David, you get slack on Twitter? That wonderful app that is just.
Oh mate, yeah, I'm always getting grief on there. I love it. It's fun, just winding people up and stuff. It gives me energy through my day, you know.
There you go.
You've got way too much time in your
hands.
If you think that's fun, you've got way too much time in your hands, and nobody got time.
I know,
rubbish.
I know.
So we've got to do what we got to do. I mean, what can we say? Tottenham on tour every single day. We'll be bringing you Cockerel Doodle Doo Monday to Friday, and your management when need be. The Advent calendar during Christmas, and a lot more to come in 2024.
Coffee company as well at 2 p.m.
Yes, I was about to say, Ben, over to you and the coffee company and seeing us out.
Yeah, it's the usual thing. Coffee company every single day. Chill streams, good content, nice chats, being nice to each other. You know the stuff. We're trying to get higher than 600 subscribers. We've hit a wall as of late, but we'll get there eventually. But from everyone,
you can't mention the F word though over on the coffee company.
No, we can't. We don't like swearing. But from everyone here at Tottenham on Tour, we wish you a wonderful Christmas season. Be merry, enjoy yourself, eat loads of food, have a great time, and as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
you.